that. We give praise, honor, and esteem to the Most High Yahweh, Yahushua HaMashiach, our Master. Ephesians 4 and about 27. 26, actually. We'll look at 25. But one of the things is that anger got to be put off. And if you're going to be angry, you got to be slow to it. You can get this Ephesians 4 and 27, 1 Samuel, I think 25, Proverbs 15, and Proverbs 16. That'll be Proverbs 15 and 1 and Proverbs 16 and 32. 4 and 25. Wherefore put away lying and speak every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Be ye angry and sin not, and let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. See, now I'm going to sit back and I'll look at it like this. Before we do that, the places we mentioned, just hold this Ephesians chapter 4 and look at Revelation chapter 12 about verse 10. See, because I already sit back and look at it. A person could be used by the adversary. It doesn't make them a sinner or a wicked person. It just means that they can be thinking carnally, and that's how he can move in. That's why he say don't give no place to the devil. Because that situation, how that went down, I can already know that this man and already went to the throne and say, you let this happen, I bet he snapped. You know what I'm saying? Revelation 12 and 10. He said, now I heard a loud voice from voice saying in Shamahim, now has come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our Elohim, and the power of his Mashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our Elohim day and night. See, this is what the adversary like to do. That's why he say don't give no place to him, because he seeks to accuse day and night. He wants to have something to say, I bet he do this, I bet he do that, I bet he do this. You know what I'm saying? Now let's go back to Ephesians 4 real fast. You know what I'm saying? Because I sit back and tell you, right, it wasn't nothing wrong with me being frustrated or angry. It was just shouldn't have yelled at him. You know what I'm saying? Or went off at it. And then also, we know sometimes when you angry, you can say some real mean stuff. Because I can at least say that me and this person done had so many arguments, you know what I'm saying, that we done said some things like, you know what, like it was even put like, I don't be trying to go there with you. You know what I'm saying? Because I love you. And I be thinking the same thing. I ain't trying to go there with you because I love you. But you angry and you'll take off. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's not necessarily good to speak when you're angry. Ephesians 4 and 26. So it says, be ye angry and sin not, and let not the sun go down on your wrath. Neither give place to the devil. So there's nothing wrong with being angry. See, look at Luke 17 and 1 before we go to 1 Samuel 25. Ain't nothing wrong with being angry because you're human. You're going to get angry. And it says, then he said unto his disciples, it is impossible, but offenses will come. But woe unto him through whom they come. So you're going to offend one another. It's going to happen. It were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he be cast into the sea, that he should offend one of these little ones. Take heed to yourselves. If thy brother trespass against thee, rebuke him, and if he repent, forgive him. And if he trespass against thee 7 times in a day, and 7 times in a day turn again to thee, saying, I repent, thou shalt forgive him. So we have to sit back and realize that we're supposed to have mercy and to forgive one another. Look at Colossians chapter 3 real fast before we get to 1 Samuel 25. You know what I'm saying? We're going to offend one another. You're going to get angry with each other. Those things going to happen. 3 and 12. Put on therefore as the elect of Elohim, Kadesh and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, and long suffering, forbearing one another and forgetting one another. And if any man have a quarrel against any, even as Mashiach forgave you, so also do ye. And above all these things, put on charity, which is the bond of perfection. So he said, if you got a quarrel against anybody, forgive them, just like the master forgave you. Now we can go to 1 Samuel 25. We'll look at somebody who was angry. He had a quarrel with a man. He forgave him, just like the master forgave him. Now, of course, David hadn't done what he had done quite yet. But it's also showing how mercy rejoices against judgment in the same token. And make sure this is what I want. I'm looking at 1 Samuel 25. That's what we want. 1 Samuel chapter 25, look at verse 1. And Samuel died, and all Yasharah were gathered together and lamented him and buried him in the house at Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. And there was a man in Maon whose possessions were in Carmel. And the man was very great. And he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal. The name of his wife was Abigail. She was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was the house of Caleb. Now it said that he was churlish. We're going to look up this word churlish in Hebrew real fast. But you also see, it mentioned he was of the house of Caleb. That means he was of the house of the man that had a different seed, different ruach, I should say. Of all the people that entered into the that were in the wilderness, it said Caleb had a different ruach on him. That's why he got in. So this man was of the house of Judah. Just so you know. Hello? Hello? How you doing, lady? All right. The word we have here for churlish is kashe. Hold on. It's kashe, and it means hard, cruel, severe, obstinate, hard, difficult, severe, fierce, intense, vehement, stubborn, stiff of neck. So when they sit back and say he was churlish and say that this man was rebellious, well, we sit back and we already know that a stubborn man is an idolater and is full of iniquity, which means you lawless. Hold on one second, since it described him as that. Look at Deuteronomy chapter 9. And get Proverbs 28 and 1. What you eating on? What are you doing, Elizabeth? Deuteronomy 9, about verse 4. Make it 3. This guy was something we got to make sure that we not like Nabal. He say, understand therefore this day that Yahuwah thy Elohim is he which go over before thee. As a consuming fire he shall destroy them, and he shall bring them down before thy face. So shalt thou drive them out and destroy them quickly, as Yahuwah has said unto thee. Speak not thou in thy heart that after that Yahuwah thy Elohim have cast them out from before thee, saying, for my righteousness have Yahuwah brought me in to possess this land. But for the wickedness of these nations, get your feet out your mouth. For the wickedness of these nations Yahuwah doth drive them out from before thee. Not for thy righteousness, or for the uprightness of thine heart dost thou go in to possess their land, but for the wickedness of these nations Yahuwah thy Elohim doth drive them out from before thee, that he may perform the word which Yahuwah sware unto thy fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Understand therefore that Yahuwah thy Elohim give thee not this good land to possess it for thy righteousness, for thou art a stiff-necked people. Now this is how Nabal is described, and he's described as being an evil man. Now look at Proverbs 28 and 1. You hold the 1 Samuel 25. The reason why I'm mentioning this here, because when we turn around and you look at it, it's not Proverbs 28 and 1, it's 29 and 1. Hold on. Oh, he hung up. 29 and 1. He that being often reproved harden his neck shall suddenly be destroyed and without remedy. Now let's go back to 1 Samuel 25 and let's see what happens to Nabal, because he's stiff-necked. Say, he that hardens his neck shall be destroyed without remedy. And what all that is telling us is that if we stubborn and we don't want to listen, and he said, in fact, in Proverbs 15 and 1, it say correction is 15 and 10. It say correction is grievous to a fool. Let me make sure we don't quote the man wrong. It's grievous to him that forsake the way, and he that hate correction is going to die. So it's a lot of times when the word come and it show you doing something out the way, or even if somebody sit back and show you that you doing something that ain't proper in whatever fashion, you ain't gonna want to hear that when you stubborn or churlish like Nabal is. Let's see what Nabal's name means before we proceed. Now we came here because the book say, be ye angry and sin not. You know what I'm saying? Because anger gonna come. Like I say, I got angry, but that was because that was anger that had been building up. We're going to see that with Moses too. Nabal's name literally means fool. Literally means fool. A foolish, stubborn man. So let's look more about Nabal here. Say he was evil in his doings. Let's look at verse 4. 1 Samuel 25 and 4. David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. David sent out 10 young men, and David said unto the young men, get you up to Carmel, and go to Nabal, and greet him in my name. And thus ye shall say to him that live in prosperity, Shalom be both to thee, and shalom be to thine house, and shalom be unto all that thou hast. And now I have heard that thou hast shearers. Now thy shepherds which were with us, we hurt them not. Hold on, y'all. Yeah, I got you, man.
This line is now off hold.
It says, and now I have heard that thou shearers, now thy shepherds were with us. We hurt them not. Neither was there aught missing unto them all the while they were in Carmel. Ask thy young men, and they will show thee. Wherefore let the young men find favor in thine eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray thee, whatsoever come to thine hand unto thy servants and to thy son David. And when David's young men came, they spake to Nabal according to all these words in the name of David, and ceased. And Nabal answered David's servants and said, who is David, and who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. Now, something just came to my head while we were looking at this. What would you think? Troy, you just heard what he said, right? What would come to your head hearing all that? Well, this man just sat back and said, the young men say, show us favor in thy eyes. We come in a good day. He say, whatsoever come to thy hand, give it to thy servants, and to thy son David. But the key thing is David sent these men out. Then we turn around and it's like this here. Then he say, the David's young men came, they spake to Nabal according to all these words in the name of David and ceased. And the other thing is that David sent these men out, and they all said, shalom in thine house. Shalom to everything that you have. Absolutely. Let's look at that in Matthew 10. But then also we see they get son in David's name. So if they get son in David's name, we see emissaries getting son in Hamashiach's name in the same token. I just had to take a pause for that because that just came to my head real fast. That's Matthew 10 and about 10 and 10 or 10 and 9. And it says, provide neither gold nor silver nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey, neither two coats, neither shoes, nor yet stays, for the workman is worthy of his meat. And into whatsoever city or town you shall enter, inquire who in it is worthy, and there abide till you go thence. This is what David was doing. When you come into a house, salute it. And if the house be worthy, let your shalom come upon it. But if it not be worthy, let your shalom return to you. And whosoever shall not receive you nor hear your words, when you depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet. For truly I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Now remember, Nabal is a churlish, a stubborn, stiff-necked man. And he's also a fool. You know what I'm saying? Now, this is what, now I'm going to sit back and tell you something. How I put this and word this properly. Usually, stubbornness or foolishness, and foolishness in all intents and purposes is knowing the truth and believing lies, or rejecting truth and believing lies will draw someone's ire. See, when we get it around and turn around and sit back and look at it, because they don't make it right, because David's anger almost got him in trouble. It took Abigail coming to stop him, as we finna see, for him not to sin in his anger. You know what I'm saying? The anger of the people is what got Moses not allowed in the land, because of what the people were doing. It frustrated him, and he did something that he was told not to do. See, like the book say, that everybody gonna get angry. In every situation, you can't necessarily react to your anger. You know what I'm saying? Even no matter how, like for Moses to react like that, I can understand why Moses reacted like that, because I mean he had to been holding that for a long period of time. You know what I'm saying? When I snapped in here on Sunday, I was holding that for a long period of time. See, a lot of times you'll see the end result. You won't, because the book say to be slow to wrath. So you'll look at it and be like, boy, this nigga just snapped. This, that, there, and the third, not knowing. I had been holding that for months. Months and months and months and months. of pent up frustration about a particular situation because you don't like to get said that you've done something or did something, you know you haven't done it in that fashion or how it's being presented, and you saying that and people not hearing what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And you get agitated and you'll just explode. That don't mean that you should explode, but especially if you get caught off guard with it. Like how Troy put it, when you sit back and you can strategically, you thinking about something, and then it get brought to you, you gonna handle it properly. And you sit back and you agitate it, and then the agitation gets further, and it catches you off guard. It wasn't something you was prepared for or thinking about. You might explode. Like when we gonna turn around and look at with Moses, what made Moses explode is because the people did something he wasn't expecting them to do. He knew they had the capabilities of doing it, but he wasn't expecting them to do it at that time. So when they did it, he got mad. And in getting mad, that got him not able to get in the land, even though it probably was already set up for him not to get in the land. And one thing was certain, as we started reading Revelation 12, we know the enemy seeks to accuse us before the throne day and night. Because word or no word, this man knows that you flesh and blood, you dust and ashes. You know what I'm saying? Like it said, as we'll read it in a minute, as it mentions, like with Elijah, he was a man subject to like passions as we are. So in every instance, it's the same way like when Peter got rebuked by Paul for what he did. Okay, you're not walking upright according to the gospel. It's the same way Troy came did the same thing. You know what? That wasn't upright according to the gospel. You to be blamed. Same situation. Because you can't go off like that in front of the heathen. When we say heathen, meaning non-believers, because it give them a chance to blaspheme. Ain't nothing you can say about that. You know what I'm saying? He's like, okay, I can understand you was angry and upset about this situation, but you can't do it like that in this situation. What you gonna say to that? When you know what the book say, I can't argue with it. According to the gospel, you're not walking upright. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, though, we can see that with the master. You can't provoke and tempt people and think they not gonna snap. Because then you just as guilty as the individual who's snapping because you tempting them. You know what I'm saying? You provoking them. You know, the book tell you don't provoke nobody to wrath, because then when you provoke them to wrath, you're going to get something out of that. But let's go back to 1 Samuel 25, though.
Hey, sit down.
I'm going to get to the second point by coming in David's name in a minute. I'm on a short time schedule.
Yeah, come on.
So I had to call you because, you know, boy, my rating ain't nothing but a 4.27, boy.
Sit down.
Well,
Yeah. Probably because I don't be talking to them people.
oh yeah, you gotta get that higher than 420, they'll find you.
You got to get it what?
You got a 4.5, I think.
I heard that.
Sit down. Read your food.
So where we at? Now listen to verse 10, right? He say, when he answered David's servants and said, who is David and who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. He says, be many people that break away every man from his master. Look at something in 1 John chapter 3. Yeah, man, I was looking at it. We got 7 5-star. It was only 11 ratings. 7 of them were 5-star, but I mean some nigga had to rate a nigga low. I just say 1 John 3. It's actually 1 John chapter 2. Oh, that's why I'm sitting here looking at it. But there it go. Thought the page was gone. 1 John 2 and about verse 19. Make it 18. It say, little children, it is the last time, as you have heard, that the anti-Mashiach shall come. Even now there are many anti-Mashiachs, whereby we know that it is the last time. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would no doubt have continued with us. But they went out that they might be manifest that they were not all of us. Because now I'll say it's many people that depart from their master. See, this goes back to right to sit back and look in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Second Thessalonians chapter 2. And then 1 Timothy chapter 4. And then I'll just reference that one down. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 2. He said that you not be soon shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by ruach, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Mashiach is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Because there's going to come a time when people going to break away from their master. Like Hamashiach say, why call me master, master, and not do the things that I say? You know, in John 6, it sit back and you see that when the master said you got to eat his flesh and drink his blood, that they stopped walking with him. They departed from their master. See, sometimes what it causes us to depart from our master can be the flesh. It could be anger, it could be jealousy, it could be lust, it could be lying, it could be a myriad of things that could cause you to depart from your master. Look at this 1 Timothy chapter 4. Or is it 2 Timothy chapter 4? Four and 1. He said, I charge thee therefore before Elohim and the Master Yahushua HaMashiach, who shall judge the quick and the dead that is appearing in his kingdom. Preach the word, be instant in season and out of season, reprove, rebuke, and exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. See, that's what happens when people begin to depart from their master. They just tend to sit back and look at, I want to go after my desires. So I want to listen to somebody who's going to tell me what I want according to what I want to hear. Listen what he say though. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables. Because a lot of time when you depart from your master, what's going to cause you to depart from your master? The works of the flesh, whether it's maliciousness, strife, envy, hate, jealousy, all these things. You know what I'm talking about? That's what I end up when you talking about as a reprobate mind is concerned. But what we really sitting back looking at is it's even as coming to the lines of when the Pharisees would sit back and say, we have one man, and that's Moses. And they were looking at those who believed on Mashiach were departing from their master to go after Yahushua. Now remember, Nabal is a fool. He's a churlish man. See, turn around and look at Acts 5 and 27 and sit back and realize what I'm talking about. Because they sat back and say, they came in the name of David. Well, we know David ain't nothing but a similitude of Mashiach. So they were coming in the name of Mashiach. This man say men depart every day from their master. They sitting back looking at, I don't know who this is. You might be out here loose doing your own thing. Basically, you sitting back looking at it, he's sitting back looking at you coming unto a fool. What you coming to me for? Seeking something from me. Men leave their master all the time. We'll sit back and show if we not careful, you could be done wandered out the way, and then you out here doing your own thing. Showing yourself to be Nabal, stubborn and stiff-necked. 5 and 25 though. Make it 24. Now when the high priest and the captains of the temple and the chief priests heard these things, they doubted of them whereunto this would grow. Then came one and told them, saying, behold, the men whom you put in prison are standing in the temple teaching the people. Then went the captain with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people, lest they should have been stoned. And when they had brought them, they set them before the council. The high priest asked them, saying, did we not straitly command you that you should not teach in this name? And behold, you have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine and intend to bring this man's blood upon us. Now I'm sitting back thinking, I think it's by Acts 13. I know it's John chapter 9 specifically, where it makes reference to that. They say we are Moses' disciples. That's our master. That's our teacher. He said, for this man, we don't know where he come from. This is why these people are sitting back and they turning around, sitting back, looking at something like this here, like, okay, who is this man who sent David? Men depart from their master all the time. What we sitting back looking at is that we don't want anything that could cause us to be departed from our master. He say his ear is not heavy that he can't hear, and his arm is not short that he can't save. He say, what has separated you from Elohim? But your sins have. That's why he say you could be angry but sin not. See, there's nothing wrong with being angry. And then he say, don't let the sun go down upon your wrath. That means once the sun go down, to be done with it. You know what I'm saying? Don't take it into the next day. You know what I'm saying? If somebody upset you 9 o'clock in the morning, you all right to be upset till the sun go down. Once the sun go down, let that go. Because he say don't give place to the devil. The reason being, let's look at Mark 7 and 20. Because of all the things of the flesh and all the things of man, Anger is a very, very powerful thing. I think lust is probably about the only thing that runs neck and neck with it. Make it 19. Because it enter not into his heart, but into the belly, and go out into the drought, purging all meats. And he said, that which come out of the man, that defile the man. From within, out of the heart of men proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, and murders, thefts, and covetousness, and wickedness, and deceit, and lasciviousness, and an evil eye. Blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these things come from within and defile the man. When you sit back and look at anger come from within. Now, you don't necessarily have to be walking around. You have some people that are angry people. Then you have some people that certain people make them angry. Then you have some people that certain situations make them angry. Then you have some people that just, in certain situations, they get frustrated. And frustration and anger, for all intents and purposes, is the same thing. There's nothing wrong with that happening to you. It's just don't sin when it happens. You know what I'm saying? Because you can get angry and be like Cain and kill a man. You know what I'm saying? That's what people usually construct with anger, that somebody get angry, they going to turn around and they going to do something to somebody. They're going to hit somebody, they're going to kill somebody, they're going to do something to somebody. And usually that's the natural course of things. Come on back to 1 Samuel 25. I can say for myself that I'd have been angry with somebody, and then once whatever we were arguing about was over with, I mean, it was done for me. I was straight. I was only angry for that moment. You know what I'm saying? I really couldn't stay angry with them for an extended period of time. Let's see about verse 11. 1 Samuel 25 and 11. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed for my shears, and give it unto men whom I know not whence they be? Now hold on, right? Let's look at shearers, right? This man say, should I take my bread, my water, and my flesh that I have killed for my shearers, and give it to some men who I don't know where they come from? Now hold on one second, because we're getting into something else at the same token. Let's see what that meant, what that word will we get here for shearer. It says, I don't want to pronounce it wrong. It's gazaz. It literally means to cut off or be destroyed. That's one of the meanings of it. So this man says, should I give my bread, my flesh, and my water that he killed for his shearers and give it to men who don't know who they are? So let's sit back and let's look at something in John chapter 15.
Hey, you left it up.
(15 and 17). He said, these things I command you, that you love one another. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love his own, but because you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. So let's let that sink in for a minute. This man says, should I give my bread, my flesh, and my water that I killed for my shearers, or those who I've cut off, to be destroyed, to some people who I don't know where they come from? You know, in Isaiah 65, he says he stretched out his arm to a people who are not called by his name. So when we sitting back and looking at being cut off or destroyed, these are people who he has sanctified to himself. He says, sanctify them by the truth. Thy word is true. I sanctify myself by the truth, that they might be sanctified by the truth. Now, me and Troy were talking about something a couple weeks ago, which we're not going to get into it right now because that's lengthy. And that was the shekel that had to be paid